Hi guys! Today I am showing you guys how to make this amazing magic slider card. When you pull this up, the monkeys magically get colored. Isn't that adorable? And it's just complete magic. I could play with this all day. I think it's just super cute. Before we get started, if you need to shop for any supplies, please send to my online store. This is my December host code. All orders will receive a PDF with 3 exclusive projects. If your order is over $50, you will receive a PDF with, a make and take kit to coordinate with that PDF. Also, if you're watching this on YouTube, please like and subscribe to my channel and share it with your friends. I would love to meet new people. All right, guys, so let's get started with this magic slider card. Today I'm using a new product, a new stamp set coming in the January through June mini catalog. This is the Catch You Later stamp set. Isn't this one adorable? These little images, I just love, and the greetings are super fun to go with it, especially this little cat. I love that one. All right, but today we're using the monkeys and the one that says, I love hanging around with you. So this is what we're going to make today. So we're actually going to start with our stamping on this one. I'm actually not going to assemble the whole card. I'm just going to show you guys how to make the mechanism. So we're going to start with our stamping. So you're going to need a piece of basic white and a window sheet piece that are the same size, and that is 4 1/4 by 3. So these are exactly the same size. I have a window sheet and a white piece. Now, to get the stamping in the exact placement that we want on both pieces, we're going to go ahead and use our Stamparatus because this is the best tool ever. So we're actually going to start with our white piece, and I have aligned my stamps already on my Stamparatus, and I've aligned them to line up with this first line right here. So I'm going to go ahead and stick my magnet on there to hold that in place. I'm just going to double check that's exactly where I want it. Yep. I don't want my tape to get in the way, so I'm just going to fold that over so my tape is nice and put away snugly. All right. So there we go. Perfect. Now, I'm going to ink up this stamp on the white. We only need the monkeys. The greeting is never going to show on the white, so I'm not even going to ink up the greeting. We're going to use Memento because on my card, I did color them with Stampin' Blends, and to color them with Stampin' Blends, you need to stamp with Memento. Now, if you have different plans to color them, if you want to color them with watercolors or blender pens or something, then you do need to use StazOn. But for my monkeys, we're just going to use some Memento. So I'm just going to go around just carefully avoiding that greeting. If you do get the greeting, it's fine. It's not going to make a difference if it's stamped on the white. Nobody will see it, so it's okay. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and stamp my monkeys down onto my white piece of paper with Memento. Okay, perfect. Aren't they adorable? I love it. Okay, let's slide that off. We're done with that one. Now I'm going to clean my stamp real quick because we're going to move on to a different ink. So I got some on my plate here, so I'm going to clean that off. I'm just using my chamois to clean my stamp here. Okay. So I'm just going to tap that down. I want to make sure that it's dry before we bring in our next one. So I'm going to give it a second to dry while we get our window sheet ready. So I have my window sheet here. I know it's going to be a little hard to tell on camera exactly where I'm stamping, but it's there. So I'm going to line it up with that same exact line that I had before. And I'm going to stick my magnet right on there so it doesn't move. And I'm actually going to pull out my second magnet for the window sheet just to make sure that the window sheet doesn't move, because I'm going to stick that down here in the corner. Just make sure it doesn't interfere. Yeah, we're okay. Because the window sheet is really glossy, so it's going to be a lot harder to get a nice clean image on that window sheet. Now, to stamp on the window sheet, you're going to want to use StazOn. Now, you guys, I'm going to be honest with you. I looked for my StazOn pad for about 30 minutes. I don't know where it is. I have no idea where my StazOn pad went. So I am actually going to use, this is our archival pad. We no longer sell these anymore, the basic black, but this is, I think, my favorite black. I've used this a ton in the past when we did sell it, and I just never got rid of mine. But if you don't have this one, you want to make sure that you use StazOn. You want to use a permanent ink, because we are stamping on a window sheet. You do not use your Memento on the window sheet. It will wipe right off. It will never dry. So you need to use a good permanent black ink. And so that's what this one is. So if you still have this one, you can absolutely use this one. But if you have StazOn, go ahead and grab your StazOn. Now I inked it up really well. I want to make sure that it's nice and inked up, because even though we're using the Stamparatus, I don't want to come at this more than once, because that's on a window sheet. It's going to get really, really tricky even to line it up with a Stamparatus. All right, so I'm going to make sure that I'm giving it a really good press. I'm holding it on there, especially around his eyes. I noticed his eyes were a little tricky to stamp, so. All right, now we're going to pull it off gently. Beautiful. So we have our image stamped onto our window sheet. Now it is going to take a minute to dry, even with this ink on the window sheet. So don't touch it, don't smudge it. We're actually going to put this off to the side to finish drying. Okay, but isn't that cute? Stamped perfectly. Now make sure that you clean your stamps right away. I'm going to put my ink away, and I'm going to clean this off in just a minute. Make sure you get them all nice and clean. I just stuck my whole hand in that stamp. Do you guys see that? I'm gonna grab a baby wipe real quick just to try to clean off my hand a little bit. All right, now let's get to the rest of the mechanism for the card. So let me pull this back in. So we're gonna make this fun slider card. Oh, I just love it. All right, so we're gonna need a piece that goes between the window sheet and our colored piece back here. And by the magic of television, I already have our monkeys colored. So we have our monkeys that we stamped here, and I've already colored them. I've colored them with blends. I used soft suede, crumb cake, and granny apple green, and a little bit of petal pink for the ears and the cheeks. So I already have this. We need a piece of white for our middle piece. This piece of white is 4.5 by 3 1/8, so it's just slightly bigger. And all the measurements for everything will be listed below, so don't worry about trying to write them down or anything. You can just check them out in the video description. All right, now on the bottom of our colored piece, of our basic white colored piece, we need to add a little brace. So that's what this little piece is for. It's like a little brace. It's going to stop from pulling all the way out. So I can't get that all the way out. That's what that brace is for. It's going to stop it from people yanking it all the way out. So this little tab or brace is 1/2 inch by 3 1/4, and I am going to adhere that on the back bottom here. I'm just going to use some Tombow glue. I want something super strong that's going to hold through all of the pulling up and down. This is just going to go right along the bottom there, and it's only going to overhang a little bit. I mean, like 1/4 inch on each side, if that. So you can see it's barely overhangs, and that's exactly what we want. We don't need something that goes all the way across a long way. We just need something that's going to stop it immediately. All right, so we have our little brace, we have our piece. So let's finish up here. So I have a card base. This is a crumb cake card base. This is 4 1/4 by 11, scored in half at 5 1/2. And then I've done some die cutting in advance. I used my my stitch rectangle dies, and I cut 2 frames. So for this granny apple green frame, I used the 2 largest ones. So let me pull this out. So I used this one and this one to make this frame. You do have to run them through separately. You cannot layer them together to cut the frame. It is a little, well, maybe you could, but I did mine separately. And then for this soft suede frame, I used the 2nd largest and the 4th largest to make my frame, and you can run these through at the same time. So you need 2 frames, and whatever stamp sets you're using, whatever colors you're using, that's the colors you want. So I have a soft suede, and then I have a granny apple green. So we're actually going to start with the soft suede. This is where our white piece is going to come in handy. This is the 4 1/2 by 3 1/8. Okay, so on the bottom of the soft suede, we are going to adhere, actually I'm going to put my glue on this side. We're going to adhere this just along the bottom of that soft suede piece. We're just going to stick this down, make sure that it's covering the entire opening, but it is only adhered along the bottom. Okay? I hope that I will make this as clear for you as possible. I know that these kinds of cards sometimes get a little bit confusing, but I hope I can make this as clear as possible. All right, we're going to go back to our window sheet. Hopefully it is dry enough now. If not, we're just going to be very careful. All right, so I'm going to line this up. I'm going to line up the image so that it is as perfect as it can be. So you can see how cute is that. So you can see that maybe my basic white was off a little bit when I stamped, but you can see that it's off just a little bit, but that's okay. We're going to deal with that. Where's my stapler? I'm actually going to staple them together at the top. And so now they're going to be in the same spot and it's perfectly fine. Okay. Now, if you do have a little bit hanging over here, you can go ahead and trim that off. I'm just going to trim that off just so that it doesn't interfere with our card, but everything else should be fine. Okay. Get rid of that. Okay. So we have our little piece here. Aren't they adorable? All right, now we're going to just kind of lift that up. They're only adhered together at the top. The basic white piece that's adhered on the frame is going to go right between the two of them. Okay, so this is going to be like our magic piece. You see how that goes? All right, now you'll see that there's a little gap down here. The window sheet doesn't go all the way down. If that bothers you, you can make your window sheet a little bit longer. That didn't bother me at all because I knew I was going to cover all of that up with some beautiful flowers. And these flowers are from the Pierce Blooms dies, by the way. So if that bothers you, you can go ahead and cover it up. Just make your window sheet longer. I wasn't too concerned about that, so it doesn't bother me at all. Nobody's ever going to see that. All right, so we have our piece on here. We're going to flip it over and we're going to start adding our adhesive. I'm just going to make sure this is centered on here. And we're going to use very, very thin strips of dimensional adhesive. So to get that, I'm going to use our foam adhesive strips. And I'm going to cut very, very thin pieces. And I'm talking maybe like an eighth, maybe even less than an eighth. Very, very thin. So you can see just how thin that is. So we're going to peel off the backing. And I'm going to adhere this down. You don't want to adhere it down to, actually, you know what? Let me back up. The only parts on the side we want to adhere this down is at the top. I apologize for the confusion, guys. And you don't want to adhere it to any of the white. Just make sure that it's only on the soft suede. It's been a couple days since I made this, so. All right, so just on that soft suede. And then down here, we're going to make sure that we put dimensional adhesive down here as well. So just trim that off if it overhangs. Okay, so I hope you guys are with me. So all I have up here, I'm going to hold this up just a little bit more. Let me get that all lined up. Okay, so I have adhesive only adhered to the soft suede pieces on either side and maybe just half an inch, 3/4 of an inch. And I have a piece down here. And we're going to flip it over and those pieces at the top, that's what's going to anchor this. Okay. So you can see, boop, that will stop it. If it's not stopping it, I mean, it will stop it. Okay. Just want to make sure that it's going to stop it. You can always move it over a little bit if you need to. This one I think I am going to move over just a little bit. You just need to make sure that it's going to catch that little stopper. So I'm going to move this over just a little bit just to make sure that it stops it. Okay, peel off the backings. And we are going to stick this down to our card base. So just make sure that everything is good. Nothing is adhering to that slider piece. And we're going to stick this down right in the center of our card, just like that. Okay, give it a good press on the bottom and the sides, and we're going to give it a little test. So it's a little harder to get it now. Did I take the dimensionals off the back there? So isn't that cute? And it will stop it. Perfect. You can see that I didn't let my window sheet dry long enough, so it is actually smearing a little bit. So we're not going to pull it in and out anymore, just to give that plenty of time to dry. The good thing about window sheets is that if you, I'm just going to do a touch of glue just on the side here because this frame is not staying down. But the good thing about window sheets is that if you do mess up on it when you're stamping it with a Stamparatus, or if you notice there's some little smear lines on it, just take a little cotton ball or a Q-tip with some rubbing alcohol and you can actually erase it off of the window sheet. So it's kind of magical that way. All right, now our frame, this little tiny granny apple green frame, is going to go on the outside just to hide anything that might be sticking out. Now, when we adhere this down, we don't want to put anything on the top because that's where we're going to be sliding in and out. So I'm actually going to cut some more dimensional adhesive, and this needs to be pretty thin too because our frame is pretty thin. I'm going to cut a little bit more, and we're just going to adhere this on the side and the bottom. So just going to stick this down. A little bit more. I love our foam adhesive strips because you can use as much or as little as you need. And you can just customize it to whatever size you need. You can also die cut with it. So if you were, if you want some shapes, maybe some detailed shapes that you want dimensional, you can actually die cut them with these foam adhesive strips. Then all you have to do is peel and stick them. It's fantastic. All right, so let me just cut this off. And I'm just gonna cut these in half here and add them to the top of here. Just remember, don't put anything along the top because that is where the monkeys need to slide out. Okay, peel off all those backings. And this is just going to go right around. So I'm going to hold it by the top because that is not adhered. And this should fit right around the outside because we use the same rectangle die for the inside of the green piece and the outside of the soft suede piece. So it should fit perfectly around the outside. Perfect. All right, now to add a little pull tab, I have a piece that is, let's see, that's not the right one that I'm looking at. How big is this? This is, I think, 2 by 1. Yeah, it's 2 by 1 inch scored at 1. And this is just going to get adhered on the outside. And I'm just going to use, some tear and tape for this. So just a piece on either side. And that will actually hold to the window sheet a little bit better than our liquid glue. So, and this will cover up our staple as well. So let me slide this up. This is probably a step you might want to do before you put the green layer on. All right, this is just going to go right up here, just like this. Just adhere that on just like that, and that will be an easy pull tab that will go up and down just like that. Isn't that cute? You can see how cute those little monkeys are. So cute. And so then all you do is just adhere decorations on the bottom, or even maybe add a banner with a second greeting or something. The only thing you want to make sure of is not to adhere anything to the window sheet. So everything is just adhered to the frame itself. Nothing is adhered to the window sheet. That way when you pull up your card, pull up your little monkeys, they all have color on them. Isn't that adorable? It's such a fun card. I hope you guys give this a try. You can try it out with some of our brand new products coming out in the January through June mini catalog that will be available in January. If you have any questions on anything, please leave them in the comments. And I hope you guys have a fantastic day. Bye.